You check in, but you might not check out. Across the UK, behind creaking doors and faded wallpaper, linger things far older and far colder than time. The kind of places where footsteps echo in empty hallways, mirrors reflect more than your own face, and sleep comes with the unsettling sense of being watched. These aren't ordinary hotels. They carry history like a stain, soaked into the carpets, pressed into the walls, whispering through every darkened corridor. Welcome to a side of hospitality that chills more than it comforts. Welcome to the most haunted hotels in the UK. The Station Hotel, Dudley. The Station Hotel, located on Castle Hill in Dudley, was partially opened on May 28, 1898, and fully opened to the public in 1910. It was then demolished and modernized in 1936 to accommodate guests and stars from the newly built Dudley Hippodrome. Over the years, it has hosted numerous famous guests, including George Formby, Stan Laurel, and Oliver Hardy. But beyond its historical significance and architectural charm lies a darker, more sinister reputation. The Station Hotel is often regarded as the most haunted hotel in the West Midlands, with reports of unexplained phenomena and ghostly apparitions. The hotel stands opposite Dudley Castle and near the site of the former Dudley railway station, which opened in 1850. This location was central to the town's development during the industrial era. Dudley was a hub of mining and industrial activity in the 19th century. The hotel's establishment catered to the influx of visitors and workers during this period of rapid industrialization. The Station Hotel has seen its share of paranormal activity over the years, from minor disturbances to activity causing guests to leave. The hotel is filled with strange and disturbing phenomena. One of the most harrowing stories is that of Elizabeth Hitchin, a young maid who, according to legend, was murdered by the hotel's manager, George Williams, in the early 1900s. After she rejected his advances and threatened to tell his wife, George allegedly strangled and stabbed her, hiding her body in a beer barrel in the cellar. Her spirit is said to haunt the hotel, with guests and staff reporting sightings of a bloodied woman wandering the halls and unexplained screams emanating from the cellar. One of the rooms that seems to have a high level of activity is room 214. Guests have reported waking up to see a white figure standing over them or sitting across the room in an armchair staring at them. Furniture has also been seen moving on its own accord, and some guests have even checked out in the middle of the night. The hotel is also notorious for poltergeist activity. Staff have recounted experiences of beer barrels in the cellar moving on their own and hearing disembodied voices. In one instance, a coin thrown into the cellar reportedly rolled back to the thrower's feet, defying logical explanation. Psychic investigations have identified the spirits of two children, Catherine and Richard, who are believed to haunt the hotel. Catherine is said to have died after being run over by a carriage, while Richard succumbed to a blood-related illness. Guests have reported hearing children's laughter and footsteps in the hallways, with some even witnessing apparitions of the young spirits playing. Perhaps the most terrifying account involves an unknown entity in the dining room that has reportedly thrown knives at staff members. This aggressive behavior has led to heightened fears among employees and adds a sinister layer to the hotel's haunted reputation. Another room in the hotel that has many reports of poltergeist activity is room 217. Many people have witnessed the bed in this room shaking violently and lights turning on and off continually. Orbs and strange lights have also been caught on camera in this room. Staff members have recounted encounters with a solid, 6-foot-tall male figure who blocks their path, only to vanish moments later. Others have experienced sudden temperature drops, the sensation of being touched, and even being slapped by unseen forces. Guests have described hearing whispering voices, growling sounds, and loud bangs, particularly in the bathroom areas. Some have felt their bed sheets being tugged away, and in one case, a bed reportedly moved a foot sideways on its own. Personal belongings have been found scattered without any apparent cause. A guest also reported waking up to find a young blonde girl kneeling at the foot of the bed, untying his shoelaces. As he looked at her, she vanished into thin air. Such encounters have led many to flee the room in fear, refusing to return even for their belongings. Other incidents have involved visitors being injured or scratched on their faces with no apparent cause, or in the case of some guests, waking up to the sensation of being strangled in their beds. So, is the Station Hotel in Dudley just an old building with creaking floorboards and drafty cellars? Or is it something far more sinister? Guests have left in the middle of the night. People have fled in fear, and whispers of a murder long covered up still echo through its halls. Whether it's the oppressive presence in the cellar, the activity in room 214, or the chilling sensation of invisible hands tightening around your throat, one thing is certain. The Station Hotel is not just a place to rest your head. Royal Castle Hotel, Dartmouth. The Royal Castle Hotel has overlooked the River Dart since 1639. It's a Grade II listed building with a dark, complicated history, one of naval officers, merchant mariners, and death. Dartmouth was once a key maritime hub, and the Royal Castle became a favorite lodging for sea captains, soldiers, and even royalty. King Charles II is said to have stayed here with his mistress. But beneath the glamour lies a legacy of violence and tragedy. Many sailors who stayed here never made it back from sea. Some say their souls never left. Standing proudly on the quayside of Dartmouth, Devon, the Royal Castle Hotel is more than just a luxurious retreat. It's a monument to over 380 years of layered, often bloody history. First constructed in 1639, the building originally served as a merchant's house during a time when Dartmouth was one of England's busiest naval ports. The River Dart was a lifeline for trade, warships, and, allegedly, smugglers. The hotel's cellar was once part of a tunnel system used to move illicit goods in secret. As war brewed across Europe, the hotel played host to naval officers, pirates, and press gangs, violent groups who would forcibly conscript men into the Navy. It's said that more than one man vanished from the royal castle, never to be seen again. During the English Civil War, Dartmouth was a site of brutal conflict. The building bore witness to battles, executions, and even sieges. Cannon fire once echoed through the harbor while residents hid within its thick stone walls. Over the centuries, the hotel welcomed royalty, most notably King Charles II, who stayed here with his mistress. But while his stay was lavish, the hotel's history for most was not so glamorous. Deaths from disease, drownings in the harbor, mysterious disappearances, all have left a dark imprint. An imprint that many believe lives on, in the walls, the mirrors, and the rooms themselves. Multiple guests over the years have reported being awoken in the dead of night by blood-curdling screams, always coming from the room next door or down the hall. When reported to reception, the reply is almost always the same. "You're the only guest on that floor tonight." One couple staying in room 8 even claimed the screams were inside their room, right next to the bed. They fled in the middle of the night, refusing to return to collect their belongings. Room 10 has a reputation for something far more unsettling than just bumps in the night. Several people have reported waking up to find a man standing in the corner of the room, completely still, watching them. The man is described as tall, pale, with black, sunken eyes and soaking wet clothing. Some say his skin appears bloated, like a drowned body. The figure doesn't move, doesn't speak. He just watches. When guests turn on the light, he vanishes instantly. One guest described it as, quote, feeling like a corpse had climbed out of the river and wanted to drag me down with it. Former staff have also told hushed stories about the cellar, which is now mostly unused. One staff member in the 1990s claimed to have found a circle of melted candles and animal bones placed on the cellar floor early one morning. No guests had access, and the doors were locked. After that incident, multiple team members refused to go into the cellar alone. Strange sounds, growls, footsteps, heavy breathing have all been reported coming from the space. One young employee collapsed after claiming she saw a face appear in the shadows and whisper her name. There is also an antique mirror hanging near the staircase which is said to be cursed. Several guests have said they saw someone else's reflection looking back at them. Not distorted, different. Some described it as a woman in Edwardian clothing smiling in a twisted way. Others saw a gaunt man behind them who vanished when they turned around. One man reportedly smashed the mirror after claiming the reflection began mouthing words to him, even though his own lips weren't moving. When hotel management replaced the mirror, the activity resumed a week later. In perhaps the creepiest of all phenomena, several guests have claimed to lose time in the hotel. One man checked in at 3 p.m. and remembers walking to his room, but nothing after. He woke up fully clothed at 2 a.m., sitting on the bed, staring at the door. His phone, watch, and room clock had all stopped at exactly 6:06 p.m. Psychics who have visited the hotel describe vortexes in the stairwells and halls, areas where time and perception distort, and something non-human may be feeding off the fear created in those moments of confusion and isolation. Beneath parts of the Royal Castle Hotel lie the remnants of something long buried, literally. The building is believed to sit atop land once used as a plague burial ground in the 17th century. During recent refurbishments, workers claim to uncover old human bones, quickly reburied and silenced by management. But ever since then, a strange phenomenon has haunted certain rooms, whispering beneath the floorboards. Guests lying in bed have reported hearing quiet voices just below them, whispering in what sounds like Latin, or sometimes nothing but frantic, desperate murmurs. Some have described it as the sound of people buried alive, clawing at the wood. One woman reported bleeding from her ears after experiencing this for over an hour. Medical examiners couldn't explain the trauma. Another occurrence frequently reported in the hotel happens on the second-floor landing. There hangs a faded portrait of a naval officer, a relic of the hotel's long maritime history. But this portrait moves. Several guests and staff have sworn that the officer blinks. Others say his expression subtly changes, depending on who's looking. One former night porter claimed he saw the eyes shift to follow him as he moved past. And then, tears of blood slowly began to trickle down the painting's face. He left the job the next day, refusing to speak about it ever again. In room 12, more than one guest has reported the sound of a child crying, soft at first, then hysterical, almost animalistic. The cries always lead to the wardrobe. Several guests, upon opening it, find nothing, but others have witnessed something far worse. A small figure curled up inside, limbs too long, face distorted, sobbing into its knees. When spotted, it slowly lifts its head, but it has no eyes. One man said the figure lunged at him, vanishing inches before impact. He checked out and reportedly left a note behind with just 3 words: Don't open it. On particularly stormy nights, staff have claimed to hear footsteps sloshing through water on the second floor, but when they investigate, the floor is bone dry. This isn't just residual noise. One maid said she followed the sound, believing a guest might be lost. She found wet footprints leading from one end of the hall to room 9 and vanishing at the threshold. A psychic later told her, "That's where the drowned ones walk." Multiple guests, in different rooms, years apart, have reported having the exact same nightmare. They dream of waking up in their hotel bed, unable to move, as a figure climbs out of the wall and sits on their chest. The figure is always the same, a faceless man wearing a naval coat soaked in blood, with barnacles growing from his sleeves. Guests often wake up gasping, clawing at their own chest, convinced they were drowning. One even went to hospital with bruises on his sternum, shaped like finger marks. And finally, there is an old service bell in the lobby, no longer in use, rusted, barely hanging on. But some nights, it rings. Not once, but 3 times, always 3. Staff have reviewed CCTV footage and found no one near it. Paranormal researchers say this may be a death omen, an old naval superstition that 3 rings mean a lost soul is trying to check in. One night, after it rang, a guest in room 5 was found unconscious. Heart attack. They survived, but later claimed they'd seen a figure in a naval uniform watching them from the window just before they collapsed. The Royal Castle Hotel may welcome you with warmth, candlelight, and riverside charm, but beneath its historic beauty lies something else entirely. A lingering darkness that watches, waits, and sometimes follows you home. From phantom screams and drowned souls, to cursed mirrors, time slips, and the cries of unseen children. This isn't just a haunted hotel. It's a place marked by centuries of pain, fear, and unfinished stories. Ettington Park Hotel, Warwickshire. Ettington Park Hotel, located near Stratford-upon-Avon in Warwickshire, is a neo-Gothic mansion with a history spanning over 1,000 years. Originally the ancestral home of the Shirley family, the estate has witnessed centuries of events, from medieval times through the Victorian era. Its storied past includes use as a nursing home in 1935 and a prisoner of war camp during World War II. The mansion's haunting ambiance was so compelling that it served as the setting for the 1963 horror film, The Haunting. Nestled in the picturesque Stour Valley, the estate has been associated with the Shirley family since the time of the Domesday Book, marking over a millennium of continuous lineage. The current structure, renowned for its architectural grandeur, was remodeled between 1858 and 1862 under the direction of architect John Pritchard for Evelyn Shirley. This transformation incorporated elements from previous buildings on the site, blending historical significance with Victorian design. After suffering significant damage from a fire in 1979, the mansion underwent extensive restoration and was reopened as a luxury hotel in 1983. The following accounts contribute to Ettington Park Hotel's reputation as one of the most haunted locations in the UK, offering a chilling experience for those who dare to explore its storied halls. During one of its many paranormal investigations, participants underwent a sensory deprivation experiment involving blindfolds and white noise. They reported sensations of being touched and experiencing sudden, unexplained pains, suggesting possible spirit interactions. From sensations to poltergeist activity, former night manager Michael Kenny reported witnessing a candle lifting off its mantelpiece and floating mid-air in the reception area on Christmas Eve. This event was corroborated by other staff members, adding credibility to the account. Another reported incident happened in room 38. Witnesses reported the room suddenly filling up with an enormous amount of flies in mere seconds. Other rooms, when checked, were completely free of them. The hotel has also seen its share of full-body apparition sightings. An old woman in Victorian clothing has been seen on more than one occasion walking near the conservatory entrance, as has the spirit of a man and his ghostly dog walking through the library. However, the hotel's most popular full-body apparition is that of a former governess known as Lady Emma. She has been known to glide around the corridors, vanishing into walls and various rooms. Another lady is also seen at the foot of the stairs. She is believed to be the ghost of a lady who met her end by falling down the hotel's main staircase. One of the most bizarre noted occurrences is from 1859. Workmen discovered a live toad sealed within a wall that hadn't been opened since 1740, suggesting the creature had survived without food or water for 119 years. This bizarre occurrence is commemorated with a carving on the same wall today. A guest staying in a room beneath the attic reported hearing heavy footsteps and doors opening and closing above them during the night. Upon inquiry, they were informed that the attic was unoccupied. Further research revealed that a woman had been hanged in the attic approximately 200 years prior. During another paranormal investigation which took place in the library, it was reported that Bibles were thrown across the room by unseen hands. This event occurred during a night trip and was captured on their recording equipment. Visitors have also heard the sounds of children crying near the banks of the River Stour, which runs through the hotel grounds. Upon investigation, no children are found, and the area is deserted. These occurrences are attributed to the spirits of two young boys who drowned in the river in the 1800s. Another guest also recounted an early morning encounter with a figure in a cassock near the ruins of the hotel's chapel. After exchanging a greeting, the figure vanished without leaving any footprints in the dew-covered grass. Staff later suggested this was the apparition of a monk known to haunt the area. At Ettington Park Hotel, the past never truly leaves. The vanishing monk, the cries of drowned children by the river, and the books that fly off the shelves. These are just the beginning. Candles float, flies swarm in cursed rooms, and the attic holds secrets better left untouched. A toad sealed in the wall for over a century, and footsteps in empty halls. Some things are better left unexplained. The Langham Hotel, London. The Langham Hotel. Beneath the crystal chandeliers and behind the marble columns of this five-star establishment lurks a darker history. The Langham doesn't just offer luxury accommodation. It comes with uninvited spectral residents who have never checked out. Built in 1865 at a cost of £300,000, an astronomical sum for the era, the Langham was Europe's first grand hotel and immediately became the pinnacle of Victorian luxury. With electric lights, hydraulic lifts, and air conditioning, it was considered the most technologically advanced building of its time. The hotel quickly became the favored meeting place of literary elites. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle frequently dined here and even set parts of his Sherlock Holmes adventures within these walls. Oscar Wilde, Mark Twain, and countless royals and dignitaries walked these corridors. During World War II, the hotel suffered significant damage from German bombing raids. Parts of the building were left abandoned for years afterward, and it was during this period of darkness that many believe the hotel's supernatural reputation truly began to flourish. The BBC purchased the building in 1965, converting much of it into broadcasting offices, but the paranormal activity only intensified. Staff reported so many frightening encounters that some refused to work alone in certain areas. When the property was restored to a luxury hotel in the 1990s, the renovations seemed to stir up even more spectral energy. The Langham is said to be home to several regular ghostly residents, but perhaps the most notorious is the spirit in room 333, considered the most haunted hotel room in London. The apparition is described as a Victorian gentleman in formal evening wear with hollowed-out eyes. He appears standing motionless at the foot of the bed before floating toward guests. The temperature plummets when he appears, and some visitors report feeling a sensation of suffocation. In October 1973, BBC radio announcer James Alexander Gordon was staying in this very room when he awoke to see a fluorescent ball of light that transformed into a Victorian gentleman. As the apparition approached his bed, Gordon fled the room in terror and refused to ever stay at the Langham again. Even Napoleon III, who lived at the Langham during his exile from France, is said to haunt the basement areas. Staff report seeing him wandering as if lost, perhaps searching for the exit from his eternal exile. A silver-haired Victorian butler is also said to haunt the hallways, still performing his duties in death. Guests report seeing him helping with luggage or turning down beds, only to vanish when addressed. Some have even felt invisible hands tucking them in at night. Perhaps most disturbing is the spirit of a man with a gaping wound on his face. He's said to appear only in October, in room 235. According to hotel law, he was a doctor who murdered his wife in that room before taking his own life. Staff also tell of an elevator that repeatedly travels to the basement without being summoned, only to reveal empty corridors when the doors open. It's believed to be operated by the ghost of a doorman who continues his eternal service. In 2014, a businessman awoke in his bed in one of the rooms completely paralyzed, feeling as though he were being strangled. When he finally regained movement, deep red marks were ingrained into his neck, which staff photographed. The marks slowly disappeared over the course of the next 3 days. There has also been a disturbing report of a night manager who required psychiatric treatment after apparently having a spirit transfer suicidal thoughts into his head. In 2008, a young couple awoke to find their bathroom floor flooded with water that seemed to be seeping up through the floor rather than from any fixture. As they stepped into the bathroom, they reported that the water felt unnaturally warm and had a metallic smell. When they turned on the lights, they were horrified to discover the water was tinged red. Hotel maintenance found no explanation for the incident, and the phenomenon has repeated with other guests in October. A housekeeper in 2017 reported seeing a woman's face reflected in the bathroom mirror of room 235 while cleaning. When she turned around, no one was there, but when she looked back at the mirror, the reflection remained. A woman with long dark hair and an expression of terror, silently mouthing words for help. The housekeeper quit that day. In 2005, 2 maintenance workers were trapped in the basement for 6 hours when the heavy door inexplicably locked behind them. Security footage showed the door closing by itself, but more disturbingly, recorded their screams as they reported seeing a dark figure moving between the storage shelves, a figure that seemed to grow larger whenever the lights flickered. Both men refused to ever enter the basement again. The most scientifically documented phenomenon occurs consistently at 3:13 a.m. in multiple rooms throughout the hotel. Electronic equipment malfunctions, temperatures drop by 15 to 20 degrees within seconds, and guests report hearing the sound of children crying or laughing, though children are rarely accommodated on those floors. Sound recordings have captured these voices asking questions like, "Will you play with me?" And more disturbingly, "Do you know you're going to die here?" A couple who stayed in room 235 in October of 2019 awoke to find their toiletries arranged in a circle with bloody fingerprints spelling the word "mine" on the bathroom mirror. Other couples had also reported similar experiences in that same room, always in October. Disturbingly, the hotel management has a strict policy that no housekeeper works alone in certain rooms, especially rooms 333 and 235. This was implemented after one of the housekeepers was found unconscious in room 333 with bruises on her wrists. When asked what happened, the housekeeper in question said that she was grabbed from behind and suddenly passed out. The Langham continues to operate as one of London's most prestigious hotels, though management remains discreetly silent about its supernatural residents. They neither confirm nor deny the hauntings, perhaps understanding that some guests are drawn to the possibility of a paranormal encounter amid such historic luxury. Next time you're looking for accommodation in London and have a taste for the supernatural, perhaps book a stay at the Langham. Just don't be surprised if you find your room already has an occupant who never checked out. The Old Ship Hotel, Brighton. Brighton, a bustling seaside town known for its vibrant culture, beautiful beaches, and rich history. But behind the bright lights of this popular tourist destination lies a chilling secret. Standing since 1559, the Old Ship Hotel is one of the oldest hotels in Brighton, and it's also one of the most haunted. With a history that spans over 400 years, it's no surprise that the spirits of its past have lingered long after the living checked out. Originally built as a tavern and coaching inn, the Old Ship Hotel was a popular stop for travelers arriving by sea. Over the centuries, it transformed into the luxury establishment it is today. In its early days, it was often a haven for sailors, traders, and even pirates who frequented the area. But as is the case with many historical places, the hotel's past is stained with violence, death, and betrayal. Throughout its long history, the hotel has been a site of many tragedies, including a notorious smuggling operation that ran through the area in the 18th century. Some even say that the spirits of those who perished in violent confrontations or who were tragically lost to the sea now haunt the hotel's corridors. Room 105 has gained a particularly sinister reputation over the years. Those who have stayed in this room have reported experiencing a sensation of being possessed by an overwhelming force. Guests have described feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on their chest, accompanied by a sense of deep paranoia, as though the very room itself is trying to invade their mind. In 2013, a couple who stayed in room 105 both reported feeling an intense compulsion to look out of the window, though neither of them knew why. They stared at the darkened street below, unable to turn away. Suddenly, both began to scream in terror, claiming to have seen a reflection in the glass of someone standing directly behind them, even though the room was empty. They fled the hotel immediately, visibly shaken. It's believed that this room is connected to a dark ritual that took place during the hotel's smuggling days. Some locals claim that this was the very spot where the smugglers' cursed rituals were performed, and it is said that those who stay in room 105 are slowly possessed by the malevolent spirit of the sea. Perhaps one of the most disturbing phenomena at the Old Ship Hotel involves the blood-stained sheets. In certain rooms, guests have woken up to find their bedsheets covered in what appears to be fresh blood that was not there when they went to sleep. The stains appear suddenly, as if someone had been violently injured in their bed. In one particularly horrifying case, a woman staying in room 214 reported waking up to find the sheets soaked in blood, her hands and arms covered in it as well. She screamed and rushed to the bathroom, but when she turned on the lights, the blood vanished. When the hotel staff came to investigate, they found nothing but an oppressive sense of dread in the room. The woman left the hotel immediately and later suffered from vivid nightmares of a man bleeding out in her bed, begging her for help. Another terrifying occurrence is known as the puppet strings phenomenon. In some of the hotel's rooms, especially in the older sections, guests have reported feeling as if they are being pulled by invisible strings. These unseen forces seem to manipulate their movements, forcing them to perform actions against their will, like walking in circles, or even uncontrollably raising their arms. Guests have described the sensation as though they are puppets on a string, with no control over their limbs. One guest in 2014 was reported to have become possessed by this feeling. She described being forced to walk in circles around her room, her arms held straight out as though controlled by a hidden force. She attempted to scream for help, but her voice wouldn't come out. When staff finally entered the room, she collapsed, completely disoriented and drenched in sweat, as if something had drained her energy. As for full-body apparitions, the lady in black is one of the most well-known at the Old Ship Hotel. Dressed in an old-fashioned black gown, her presence has been felt in various parts of the hotel, but especially in the ballroom. Staff have reported seeing her gliding silently across the floor, her eyes empty and her face obscured by a veil. As she walks, the temperature drops significantly, leaving guests shivering and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. One visitor in 2014 reported seeing the lady in black standing by the ballroom's grand piano, staring directly at her. When she approached, the figure vanished without a trace. But the guest felt something brush against her cheek, a cold, unnatural sensation, as if the lady had passed through her. Afterward, the guest's complexion turned ashen, and she began experiencing violent headaches and vivid nightmares during the rest of her stay. Many believe that the lady in black is the ghost of a former guest who died under mysterious circumstances in the 1800s. Some say she was a victim of unrequited love, while others speculate that her death was the result of an illicit affair gone wrong. Whatever the truth may be, she remains a permanent fixture at the Old Ship, forever wandering its halls, waiting for the next unsuspecting guest. Among the regular paranormal activity at the hotel is disembodied laughter, echoing screams, full-body apparitions of sailors and smugglers, and sounds of children crying. From the echoing laughter in the halls to the blood-soaked beds that vanish by dawn, the Old Ship Hotel is not just a place to rest your head. It's a place where reality unravels, where history bleeds into the present, and where something far darker than ghosts may be waiting behind every locked door. Perhaps it's the weight of centuries, or something buried beneath the floorboards. But one thing is certain. This hotel doesn't just remember the dead. It keeps them. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. See you next time for more haunted locations and dark history.